we have with us Shri Govind Assudani, who will take us through ROI in panel processing. Govindji.
Important topic, ROI in panel processing. So the equipments or the investment that you do in panel processing, how do you get a return on investment? I have listed down top 5 parameters here, which are very, very important for very attractive and feasible ROI. A is quality. We would go through those parameters in detail in the coming slides. Second is, of course, software, factory layout, manpower, trained manpower as well as a good team definitely plays an important role. And last but not the least, machinery and after sales support. We all know here that quality is an important parameter when it comes to kitchen, and that's where many things get decided. But quality definitely comes from word passion. So how passionate we are about quality decides how do we love our product. So that is an important area. It's a very difficult path, maintaining good quality and ensuring that each product that comes out of the factory is the right one. So it's a difficult path, but the right path, I would say. Quality of raw material really plays an important role. We had a nice presentation from Ramu sir on raw material. I also agree with him that particle board is a good particle board is a real good material for kitchen carcasses. And very important is how good is your product at the time of installation. It should be very user friendly or installation friendly design. So that would decide your customer. Software plays a really very important role when it comes to your return on investments, because with an optimization software you can save good quality raw material, which we spoke about. With a good design software you can really design your kitchen at a very faster pace, and therefore you can deliver good product out of your factory. And there are softwares on planning and scheduling also, which would help you. How do I plan my production in the factory? Do I do the carcasses first, or do I do the shutters? And can I merge 4 orders into a day and save on material? Because there would be many times you'll have white boards being used only for carcasses. So that really helps you in planning and scheduling. And there is also a new software which is there in the market now, which is we call as manufacturing software, where you make machines talk to each other, and that's basically with help of a barcode. So on the cutting machine you get a barcode label coming out giving all the details from the project name, customer name, whether it's a base unit or a top unit, and it's a left hand panel, right hand panel. So all these details there you will get it on a barcode, and the next machines like the edge banders or the CNC boring machines would read this barcode and pop up the respective programs for further processing. From software we move to factory layout, which is really very, very important factor in your ROI, because most of the factories that we see in India have a layout as per the Vastu. So they say I would like to have my hot press in the northeast corner and my heaviest machine in the southwest corner, which would give me a better ROI. So yeah, those are also important factors, but what is very, very important in a factory layout is your material movement. So what we do is we do a string diagram. So if a carcass has to be manufactured, you need, first operation is cutting, second edging and drilling. Then a post-form panel would move from cutting to molding, then to hot press, then post-forming, again coming back to cutting and then to edge banding. So what is very important in a factory layout is you should have minimum material movement. There is no backtracking of material, which will ensure that you have low rejections on your material, and by moving material from place A to place B, it should always add value, not cost. So many times when we move material, we see, okay, we moved from one machine to another and now we have to bring it back to the same machine. So you're adding cost to it rather than adding value. So that's really very, very important when it comes to factory layout. Another important area is the material storage, and it's the way you retrieve the material. That's very, very important, because in many factories we find the boards kept in horizontal position, and then you need the bottommost board to process today. And you have 4 people trying to retrieve those boards for production. So therefore, it is very, very important the way you store boards and how fast you can retrieve the board, so that at the time of retrieval of the board, you do not add cost or add labor to it. Therefore, it's very important to have material handling equipments in the factory. Example, scissor lifts or conveyors, vacuum lifts. There are various ways to handle material in a factory, which would reduce fatigue in your factory, and therefore your labor would have the same kind of energy what he should have while working in a factory. Floor conditions also do play a very important role in a factory layout, because when you move material from position A to position B, it should be a smooth movement. So if your floor is good, then there would be less rejections and less material handling also, or a smooth material handling also. Housekeeping also does play an important role when it comes to factory layout. So there are supporting equipments like good dust collection systems with filter bags that would really help you to keep your factory clean and neat. Very key parameter, that is manpower, because you can, when it comes to panel processing, there are various variables that you deal with, and manpower is one of the variables. So business is nothing but making your variables constant. You can make your raw material constant, you can make your machines constant, but manpower is something which is always a variable, and a trained manpower would be really ideal for a factory, and therefore we always recommend that fresh employees are really key to a factory, where you bring them in, mold them, train them, and they would be really helpful to the factory. Very important process in panel processing or in kitchen manufacture is edge banding, and what we have observed is in many factories the edge banding operator is the most unskilled operator. So because most of the activities are done by the machine, a through feed machine, so we say, okay, we just need a loading unloading person who would be responsible for edge banding operation. But trust me, it is the most critical machine in your factory, which would decide the quality of your product, and also it would decide the aesthetic look of your product. So in most of the companies in Europe where we have visited, we have seen the most trained operator is the edge banding operator, because edge banding is not just one single machine, it is multiple of many machines machines inside, and each unit requires fine tuning, fine settings. Therefore, we would recommend that a well trained operator or a process owner should take care of the edge banding operation at the factory. And training should be a continuous activity. So it's not that an operator or a supervisor once trained and it's okay. It's a continuous activity. A lot of retraining courses needs to be conducted, which would ensure that that your team is always geared up to produce good quality product. Skill enhancement schedule should be in place at the beginning of the year. So, okay, these are the activities with respect to skill enhancement or with respect to training that we would be doing in 2015-16, and with proper planning, so that most of the employees in your factory should be multi-skilled. So in terms of absenteeism, it is really helpful. So an edge banding operator can run a CNC machine, or a CNC operator can run a cutting machine. So that's another area which is really important. Machinery and after sales support also plays a really very important role here. So what we need is to have a attractive or a feasible ROI on your investment. You need to have quality equipments in the factory. So not only the machines which produce, but also the supporting equipments like compressor, dust collector, and regular preventive and maintenance of these supporting equipments. Because many a times when we visit factories, we see that today the compressor is not working, and therefore the whole factory is under breakdown. So there is no production that is being taken out from the factory. So these are supporting equipments are also very important, and they also do need regular preventive checks and preventive maintenance. So that's really very crucial. Here, of course, preventive maintenance, I believe most of you must be knowing about it, but there's a new word which is called as predictive maintenance, and this is now coming into India on a larger scale, where we can predict a failure of a component in an equipment much before or just before it fails. So every bearing or every belt or every solenoid valve, pneumatic valve has a particular life cycle. So suppose a bearing would last for 10 lakh running hours. So there is data available on these things. That is what many of the aircraft companies or the airline companies, they follow predictive maintenance. So they replace the part before it is about to fail, and this ensures that your machines are always available for production. So there is nothing unplanned breakdown that occurs in your factory, and it's always we all know that there is Murphy law, that when a special or a critical order is going on in the factory and there is a breakdown. So that is what predictive maintenance would help you in. So you plan your breakdowns. Right? Breakdowns are part of a factory or of a machine. So this is what predictive maintenance would help you in. And another area which I would recommend or I would suggest is that we should have a maintenance budget at the beginning of the year when you do your annual planning. When we do our annual planning, we have planned for manpower cost, we have planned for electrical energy cost, raw material, everything is planned in, but maintenance cost has not been planned in. So if there is an unplanned breakdown and you need an expensive spare, then that is where you get really stuck up at how do we move forward from here. So normally thumb rule I would suggest is 2% of your equipment cost, of your total equipment cost in your factory should be your maintenance budget for the year. So this is what an international norm too, which is followed in many developed countries. Yeah, that's it on ROI for panel processing. If there are any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Yeah, it's a good question. The difference between preventive and predictive maintenance. Preventive maintenance is normally you get in the machine manuals, normally there would be a frequency decided by the machine manufacturer, that every week you need to grease the bearings, or every 15 days you need to clean the filter of the machine. So there is a frequency decided by the machine manufacturer and you religiously follow that. And today most of the CNC machines have a software where you automatically get pop-ups on the screen that today you need to grease the bearings, today you need to clean the filter, today you need to check the tension of the belt, and the operator or the maintenance person would go and do that activity and reset the counter. So it's time based, where it is decided by the machine manufacturer, while predictive maintenance is something which is decided by the part manufacturer. So the bearing manufacturer would say, even after you have greased the bearings every week or every 15 days as per decided by the machine manufacturer, you need to change the bearings after say 10,000 or 10 lakh running hours. And yeah, yes, yeah. So this is something which is, so you have a counter on your machine which says, okay, the machine has on the CNC machine, you will have, okay, this machine has run for 10 lakh hours. And that's when it's very, very important to look at the condition of the bearings. Most of the time you would find, okay, I can still run it for another 10,000 hours or 20,000 hours. But the bearing manufacturer says it's time to replace the bearing to avoid unplanned breakdown. Yeah. Then it creates. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Based on my experience, I can say after 5 years of sometimes of the rate of channels, I can say it's more than 5% of the machine. So when this 2% is, and again you have to see your manual.
Yeah.
How much even if you are maintaining a car, you have to see the bearings, the tires, these are to change that so much just kind of usage or so much as the usage.
Yes, everything. So it would be your spares cost, even including oil and grease, as well as the service cost. That should not exceed more than 2% of your value of the machine. And therefore preventive maintenance really plays a very important role. Now we too also have come across such incidences where the cost has been above 2%, and most of them it has been the failures of electrical drives. which are the most expensive ones. So what is there, how to prevent that kind of failure? There are preventive maintenance for electricals too. That is the supporting equipment which supplies the electrical power to the machine. So therefore, most of the electrical drives that we have seen, it fails due to power fluctuations, which is quite common here in this part of the world. And even after having good stabilizers, voltage stabilizers, but it's very important also to have preventive maintenance of these voltage stabilizers, which we really do not really care to focus on, because a voltage stabilizer is a 40,000 rupees equipment, and so it's very important to tie up with good supporting equipment manufacturers, whether it comes to compressor, dust collectors, or to voltage stabilizers, and engage with them for an annual maintenance contract. So they would come down and do proper annual maintenance of your supporting equipments, which would enhance the life of your main equipments in the factory. So yes, the transformer of your incoming supply to your factory. So that needs to be, how often do we change the oil of the transformer? That's again very, yes. So, but there are private companies who would come and help you with preventive maintenance of your transformers. There is a life cycle for the oil which is there inside the transformer. Yes. So they would do these things, regular checks, and it really helps, because with my so many years of experience, I am from maintenance background, and most of the drives which have failed, I have seen is the power supply card that fails in the drive. So the drive would be expensive part, but the power supply card which is there, that is what it fails. So that shows that it was something to do with the incoming supply of where there is a fluctuation. There is one more important point which of course I missed out is one should have a regular, like we have our financial audits every year with respect to our performance, business performance. It's very important to also have factory audits. So where you call these agencies, so the machine supplier would come and do the complete machine audit for you, like supporting equipment supplier like the compressor supplier or dust collection supplier. You just call them, they would spend a day with you and let them come and audit your factory. You should also have a factory audit of your flooring. How good is my flooring? So these factory audits would really help you in having a better ROI. So since I am from a machine supplier background, my recommendation would be is that your machine should run as much as possible in the factory, because the job of a machine is to produce, and the more it produces, your ROI would be better. And how to make these machines work and produce more and more is all this thing. A good trained manpower, ensure that your machine runs, supporting equipments running all the time, supporting the machines, good floor conditions so that the material can be shifted from place A to place B in a shorter time, a good factory layout so that your material movement is minimum and your machine is busy producing. So the focus should be on the machines working more and more. Yeah, I would say a good machine from Europe or from a European origin would be 15 years. Yes. Also, yes. If it's a European company, definitely yes, yeah. They will ensure that, see what decides the quality of the machine is the components that are used in the equipment. So whether it is produced in India or it is produced in Europe, the components would always remain the same. So the drives would be from Siemens, the motors also would be from good brand like Siemens, and electronics normally is either Fanuc or Allen Bradley or Beckhoff. So this is something which nobody can sacrifice on. The bearings have to be from SKF, so or the ball screws or linear guideways have to be from THK Japan. So the components decide the quality of the equipment. Yes. Yes. And do make a study that if it is going beyond 2% of the value of your machine, your maintenance cost, we would definitely help you in reducing that. So we have programs where we can come down to your factory, analyze the working and suggest you on how to go about it and reduce your maintenance cost. So there are programs to do that.
Thank you, Govindji.
Thank you.
For any returns,